of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, the Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. Thank God for the reading of his word. And today, if you'll just repeat after me, I'm one of the few. I'll say it again. I'm one of the few. I'm one of the few. I am one of the few. Used to be on the radio station that would come on. They had a guy that they called Mad Pastor Tony. And they called him Mad Pastor because when he gave his word, he was just mad about it, you know. And he got them together. Whenever he would preach, he was just mad. But one thing he would end by saying, how many gonna tell him the truth? And the response that the people would give him, not many. He'd say, how many gonna tell him the truth? They say, not many. And we're living in a time where it seems that the righteous, those that choose to do the right thing, choose to do the positive thing, are kind of in the minority, it would seem. I don't necessarily prescribe to that, but it would almost seem that those that would do the right thing are in the minority, and those that choose to live their lives in any kind of way is the majority. It would seem, if we would look at the news and listen to what the news says, and listen to what the reporter says, that it would seem that that is what's going on. But we understand and we thank God that God still has some people that haven't bowed to Baal. God still has some people that's deciding to stand up for the Lord. He still has a remnant that's choosing to do the right thing. And even as my wife was testifying, even about her dad, there was a time that even when they were not saved, there was a special reverence that it seemed that they had for God. Even when they did not necessarily go to church themselves, they understood that there was a need for the children to go, and there was a need for God to be strong and prevalent in their lives. And they did. They had a respect for who God was. Maybe they didn't necessarily do all of the things that God required, but they understood there was a God, and they understood that that God needed to be feared and reverenced. But we're living in a time where it does seem that that's kind of the minority opinion. That's the minority report. And the majority is caught up in self-preservation and self-highlighting and self-gratification, rather than allowing God to be God and to be the God of their lives. And we see that because of that, we see so much is happening everywhere in our communities. That's all we seem to talk about. There's so much going on in our community, so much even going on in our lives. And the reason is because God has taken a back seat. We've given God a back seat in our lives. We haven't made him the priority. We haven't made him important. We haven't put him in a place in our lives. Whenever you put God in his proper place, it causes you to kind of do some things in your life. Whenever you put God where he should be in your mind and in your activities and in your planning and in your future, whenever you put God where he should be, it puts you in a place where you try to order your steps to align with who he is, to align with what he wants and what he desires. But whenever he's in a lower place, whenever he's at the bottom, whenever he's not the first option, then you don't defer to who he is. You don't defer to his will. You don't defer to his way, but your way, your will becomes prevalent. Your way becomes the thing that you follow after and the thing that you seek after. And often we find out that when we take our way is most times the way of trouble. Our way most time is the way of heartache. Our way most time is the way of sorrow, is the way of loneliness, is the way that, have really messed us up. I mean, if we be honest, I know we can try to find reasons and try to point blame and point fingers, But if we really would be honest and try to find the root cause, most of the time the root cause of our situation, we're somewhere there at the root. Our own decision, our own mindset is somewhere at the root cause of the problems that we're having in our life somewhere. Now, I know things happen to us and we don't have no part in it. I understand that. Things happen to us when we're just moseying along, doing our own thing, and sometimes things happen. But a lot of times, things happen as a result of who we are. And today we're looking at a very familiar story, a great Bible story. Again, we find in the first verse of our lesson that the children of Israel they were doing evil in God's sight. Now, the children of Israel were God's chosen people. These were the people that God did so many miracles for. These were the people that God provided for. These were the people that God worked miracle after miracle for. These were the people that God delivered with a strong hand. These are the people that God parted the Red Sea for and made plagues come to Pharaoh's house. God had done so much for these people to bring them out. And when I began to look at this story, it kind of sounds familiar because it put me in mind of my people. And when I speak of my people, it kind of put me in mind of us as a race of black people. When we think about where God has brought us from as a race of people, we've come from a long way. Many of us, myself included, we can't really fully appreciate where we came from because we were not there to suffer some of the things that our fathers and grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers and our ancestors had to suffer. We wasn't there, so it's hard for us. We try to imagine it and we try to fathom it in our mind, but it's difficult for us to really understand that I couldn't go through the front door. It's difficult for us to grasp that I couldn't vote freely. It's hard. It's hard for us to even fathom that I couldn't. What do you mean I couldn't sit on the front of the bus? That is so far from our comprehension and understanding. But those were things that they went through. Pick who cotton. Let somebody right now come talk about picking some cotton. Let somebody look like they want to tell you to come work on this plantation. Some of us don't even want to work in a factory because it's flashbacks. Hold on, this reminded me of something. Wait. Let somebody come now. We can't even fathom it. But they went through it. God had to bring them out. God had to open the door to bring us even where we are now. And I know we got a long way to go. We haven't quite arrived yet. There's some more hurdles to climb. But when we look back from where we've come, we've got to realize that we thank God for bringing us out. We're not here because the man wanted to let you go. You're not in the place where you are because the man just wanted to give it to you. But somehow God led some folk to fight for you. He stirred the mind and stirred a movement that caused us to break free and caused some things to happen for us. And we know it had to be nobody but God. Nobody changes a man's thinking but God. Nobody changes a man's reasoning but God. Yeah, your fussing ain't gonna change it. No, your fussing, your parading, your marches ain't gonna do it. The only thing that's gonna change a man, and I'm talking about women too, but the only thing that's gonna change the mind of a person is God. The only thing that's gonna make somebody want to fight for you is God. Oh yeah, you ain't gonna get nowhere without God. You're not gonna get any progress without God. But what God does, He gets down and changes minds. The Bible tells us that the heart of the king is in God's hand. And if the heart of the king is in his hand, that means God can turn it whichever way he chooses. He can turn it whichever way he pleases. So when I begin to look at this story, the Bible says that the children of Israel did evil in the sight of God. And I begin to think about us as a people, some of the things that we do to ourselves, some of the things that we do to our own brothers, our own sisters, how we hurt our own selves. We can put our names in the place of the Israelites and say the children of black folks did evil in the sight of God. But that first verse tells us that because they did evil in the sight of the Lord, the latter part of that says, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian. The Lord delivered them into the hand of their captors, into the hands of their abusers, into the hands of their users. And I know we can kind of take the Midian as the enemy today, because that's what the enemy does. God sometimes have to employ the enemy. Sometimes he have to employ some bullies to come and to kind of get us back in the right frame of mind, just like a father does. Sometimes a father has to put that rod of correction on the behind. Oh yeah, I know we don't do it too much today because we're nervous. They'll call 911 on you today, and send you to jail, for beating them, for putting that rod on them. But the Bible tells us if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Now, spoil ain't the kind of spoil your daughter was talking about a little while ago. This spoil that the Bible was talking about was a ruining spoil. Well, when food gets spoiled, it's no good for anything. You can't eat spoiled food. It's just no good. It's lost its value. It's lost its usefulness. So the Bible says if you spare the rod, you're going to mess up your child. If you don't give some correction, you're going to mess up your child. And that's the same way God had, the same kind of posture God took with us. He says, and he delivered them into the hand of their enemies. Sometimes God does things to get our attention. So the first thing I got to tell you, you got to understand the cause. Say that, say understand the cause. You got to understand what got you where you are. You got to understand what puts you in the position where you are. And the only person that really knows that 100% is you. The only person that really knows, we can stand and analyze and we can stand and psychologize. I'm making up words. But we can stand and we can try to figure it out and try to do all of that. But you are the one that really knows what's going on with you. And ain't no sense of us sitting up here fronting and faking and all of this stuff. I don't remember which one it says, but one of the great writers said, to thine own self be true. I don't know if that was Plato or Aristotle or Socrates, but he said, to thine own self be true. Ain't no sense of going around here trying to point this and point that. If you take an honest look at what's going on in your life where you are, you will discover what the problem is. You'll discover what the situation is. And the children of Israel, the Bible said, the reason that God put them in the hand of the Midian was because they did evil. Some things that we're in, we're the cause of it. We're the cause of it. Do I got to tell you my definition of insanity again? Okay, I'll tell you. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over, but expecting a different result. Doing the same thing, but expecting a different result. Doing the same thing, but expecting a different result. That's insanity. That's insane. I know, I'm going to keep reminding you. See, you thought the insane man was the one that was kicking the wall. You thought the insane man was the one out there talking to himself. You said, oh, that man is insane. Well, he ain't the only one. He might have some problems, but some of us in here right now, we're borderline, we're right there on that insanity line. Because we're looking at things things that are wrong in our lives, but we won't change anything. We're looking at things that are not going proper, but we won't change anything. We're looking at things that we don't like in our lives, but we won't change anything. If you ain't gonna change nothing, don't complain about it. If you ain't gonna change nothing, don't say nothing. Just sit there. But if you see what's wrong in your life, you got to say, man, I want something different from me than this. I want to be different. I want to be in a different place. Then you got to say, what I'm doing is not getting me where I want to be. Come on. What I'm doing is not conducive to anything positive in my life. I've been doing this for 5 years, 10 years. I've been having this way of thinking for 5 years, 20 years, and it ain't doing me no good. You may need to shake up what you're doing. You may need to say, no, I got to do something different because this ain't working for me. And let me tell you something. God don't want you in no low place. God don't want you in the gutter. God don't want you scraping and clawing. God don't want you somewhere sad and depressed and mad. God don't want you somewhere looking like you've been outside all night. God don't want that for you. But what God desires for you is to live on top. God desires for you to live on top. He says you are above only and not beneath. He wants you to be the head and not the tail. He wants you to be the lender and not the... I don't always want to be borrowing. Come on, you ought to get sick and tired of having your hand out all the time. You ought to get tired of being needy all the time. But you should be seeking to get in the place where if somebody needs something, they can turn to you sometime. Come on. And in order to get that, Lord, I've got to change up something that I've been doing. I ain't getting up here with all this cute stuff, saying the right stuff and saying, you know, we know the right thing to say and all of this here and all this pity stuff, all this here. I get so sick of that. I get so sick of it. I got a young man that I talk to and I'm always getting on him. And he keeps saying, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And I tell him, you know what I tell him? I say, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear yes, sir. I don't want to hear that. That sound nice. Good. No, I don't want to hear it. What I want to do now, I want to see something. That's what I want to do. Now I want to see something. But they had to understand what caused them to be in the hands of the Midian. It wasn't because God didn't like them. It wasn't because God didn't have anything else better to do. But God was trying to get their attention. God was trying to give their attention to say, listen, I am God. You've been trying it your way and it ain't working. You've been doing your thing and it ain't working. God said, I am God. And I'm trying to get you to understand that I am God. So they had to understand the cause. The 6th chapter, same chapter, the 2nd through the 4th verse. See, that's why you need your Bible, so you can follow along there. 6, 2 and 4 says, and the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. And because of the Midianites, listen now, the children of Israel made them dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. Listen, they somewhere on the run. They running, hiding in their own land, in their own place. They somewhere hiding in caves. So that's the next thing I want to tell you. Don't hide from it. Say that. Say, don't hide from it. Don't hide from the condition. Don't hide from the situation. Don't hide from the trouble. Don't hide from the circumstance. Don't hide from the fact it is what it is. It is what it is. So all you got to do now is face that thing. All you got to do is face it. And don't even get into this thing where now, because we done already realized why it happened. Okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to face it. And when you get into the facing it phase, you don't worry about no more how it happened. You don't worry about no more what you did. You don't deal with the shame no more. You don't deal with the disgrace no more. You don't deal with, oh, I messed up, and you don't let nobody make you all, you're gone from there now. Yeah, I know what I did. I admit what I did, but I'm gone from there now. Don't let nobody make you live there. Yeah, some folk will make you live there. Keep bringing it up. I remember what you was, how you was, what you did. Man, you say, yes, that's what I was, but I ain't that no more. All of us in here right now, we are X something. Everybody in here, I hope you're X something. Because if you ain't an X, that means that you're still current. So I hope there's some areas in your life that you can say, I was an X. I was. I ain't ashamed. I was. That's what I did. Yeah, that was me that came out the liquor store. That was me. What? That's what I did. Yeah, that was me that was in the crack house. What? That was me. I ain't gonna try to front on you and say, no, you don't even know who you talking about. You gotta keep your mouth closed. You don't know who he was. Like, no, that was me. It was me. Don't see, when you can't confront it, the devil will feel like he can hold something over your head. The devil feel like he can kind of hold that over your head as long as you hide from it. Don't want nobody to know. Because I don't think about me, I'm hiding. No, you let them know. Yes, that was me. You take the legs right from under that rascal. Because what he was going to try to do is use it against you. But when he can't use it against you, he ain't got nothing else. When he can't use it against you, he ain't got nothing else. So when the enemy comes, oh yeah, I'm finna expose him. I'm finna expose him. Yeah, that was me. I did it. I done exposed myself. Now what does that do? That takes the strength out of what the enemy was trying to do. So now all I got to do now is focus on the problem. I don't have to hide no more, but I can focus on the solution. I can focus on getting better now. It said, but the Midianites prevailed, and they went and hid in caves. I don't want to face it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to go get in this cave, and I'm going to just stay to myself in this cave. Now, can you understand what they were limiting themselves to because they didn't want to face it? They was limiting themselves to a dark place. They was limiting themselves to a lonely place. They was limiting themselves to a place of unfulfillment. They was limiting themselves to all of that. Why? Because I'm in this cave. I'm going to stay in this cave. Why am I going to stay in the cave? It's safer in the cave. I don't have to deal with the problem in the cave. I don't have to struggle with the devil in the cave. Oh, I can just, I know the cave. I understand all of the parts of the cave. So I'm good here. But you will never realize your potential as long as you hide from the problem. You will never realize a victory as long as you won't confront it. And you may lose some things. I'm not going to tell you no. And confronting it, you may lose some stuff. And confronting it, you may lose some folk. And yeah, you may lose some folk because some of them same ones you got to confront are the ones that's kind of in your circle. Those same ones that you kind of got to deal with are up close to you. So you may very well lose something, but it has to be worth the fight. Ooh. It has to be worth the effort. It said that because they prevailed, they hid in the caves. They were in dens in the mountain instead of possessing their land. And God has ordained some wonderful things for you to possess. Your family could be better if you won't hide from it. Your family situation could be better if you confront it. It's hard, I know it. It's difficult, I know it, but it's worth it. And it's yours. It belongs to you. They were in their own land. They were in their own place that God had given them, but they were hiding in the caves. The next part of that verse says, not only were they hiding, it says, they were in the cave, they were making strongholds, and it was so when Israel had sown, when they had planted their crops, and we know that crops was what they survived on. That was their livelihood. It says, and when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites, and the children of the east, even they came up against them, come on, and they encamped against them. And what they do, mother? Destroy the increase of the earth. So the Midianites and the Amalekites, see, folk could get together on you. It said the Midianites, they got them some friends, the Amalekites, and other children of the east got together. And what did they do? Destroy the increase of the earth. Meaning they went and destroyed the crops. While you somewhere hiding in the mountain, you somewhere hiding in the mountain, the enemy is having a field day with your stuff. While you somewhere cowering and hiding, the enemy is having a field day. Why? Because there's no one to protect it. There's no one to guard it. There's no one to fight for it. And as long as no one is fighting, man, the enemy is going to have a field day. And as long as you surrender your mind, surrender your life to the enemy, he going to have a field day. As long as you surrender your children, surrender your neighborhood, surrender your community, the enemy is going to have a field day. He's going to ruin all of the increase. He's going to destroy it all when there's no one there to fight. When there's no one keeping the gates. When there's no one guarding the field, the enemy going to have a field day. You know how it is. Those of you that had gardens, we've always had gardens kind of growing up. And you know, there were times we went out of town and everybody was gone from the house. And when we got back, the greens was gone. Somebody, while we were away, had came and picked the greens. Now, I'm not going to be too mad because evidently they needed them. So, you know, they didn't steal the TV, thank the Lord. They took the greens. Why? Because no one was there watching the field. No one was there protecting. So the enemy came in and had a field day. And that's what he does with our lives. That's what he does with our families, our children, our substance, our future. If we don't guard it, if we're somewhere hiding and scared, he's going to have a field day. But it don't take much to put the enemy on the run. Oh, you know it. Some of these fellas that look big, bad, and bold, and you think they'll chew nails and spit them back up at you, and you think they can bite a chunk out of a brick. You're just looking at it, you say, oh, Lord, you're rough. You know, you don't even want to talk to him. But you take a little guy that decides to stand up. Take a little guy that decides to say, I'm holding my ground right here. You'll find even that big guy wasn't so strong like you thought. Wasn't so confident as you thought. But because somebody stood up, you find that rascal said, all right, you know, he wasn't as willing. But as long as you were laying down, as long as you were willingly handing over your lunch money, here you go. Here you go. Here's my money. I asked mama for extra for you today. Here you go. As long as you do that, he gonna keep on. Yes, he is. But the minute you say, you know what, I'm keeping my lunch money today. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to go down. I may very well get the bottom end of this stick, but I'm not giving you my money. If you're going to get it, you're going to take it. Come on now. I'm not giving it up without a fight. I'm not giving it if you get it, you listen, you're going to look like you've been in the fight too. Come on now. You may get the upper hand, but I declare you ain't coming out untouched. I declare you ain't coming out unscathed. We both going to look like we've been fighting. Why? Because I'm not hiding. Somebody shout, don't hide. Come on out that cave. Come on out that den. Come on out that corner. Come on out from under and face the enemy. Don't hide. Don't hide. Don't hide no more. In our communities, we've got to come out. Folk peeping behind blinds, shaking their head at the trouble in the community. Peeking out. Peeking out. We got to stop peeking out and step out. And then when we step out, we got to step up. The enemy don't mind as long as you're in the house peeping out. Some of you know everything that happened in your neighborhood. Yeah, Miss Johnson got some new furniture. So they got some visitors coming over from Mississippi. I saw the car pull up. And I know this and I know that and this happened and that happened. You know everything. And you go to some folk houses, you can even tell where they peek out at. Because the blind got a little bend in it where they always peeking out. Or the curtain is just over and they always peeking out right through there. They know right in that little spot, they peeking out right there. And some got so good they can peek out and you don't even know they peeking out. Some of y'all developed that for the Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, y'all developed that for the Jehovah's Witness. You hit a doorbell and you know how to peek. You say, oh, that's them. I ain't opening that door. Not today. But as long as you peeking out, the enemy don't mind it. But it's when you step out and start making some noise. Hey, what you doing over there? Hey, what's going on over there? That's when the enemy starts to get a little shaky. Say, oh, Lord, he see me. Oh, they see me now. And not only do they see me, they ain't scared. So you can't hide. Lord, I am so far out of time. This is my wife. She tried to be so sweet. She said, nice, subtle, amen. It said, they destroyed the increase and left no substance for Israel. So now, the 7th verse says, and it came to pass when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites. The children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites. They decided to take it to the Lord. Say that, take it to the Lord. Tell your neighbor, say, take it to the Lord. It said they cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites. Because of their trouble, because of their situation, because of the circumstance, they realized that there's only one source. They realized that it's only one place that we can get some help from. There's only one place we can turn to. And what messes us up a lot of times, we turn to the wrong source. We look to the wrong places for our help. We look to the wrong places for our deliverance. Sometimes we look to other folk. Sometimes we look to ourselves. I can do this myself. I got what it takes to handle it myself. And I've got to tell you, you can't do nothing in your own self. You can do nothing of your own. You can't do nothing in your own strength, in your own might, in your own wisdom, in your own understanding. But I declare when you take it to God, oh, I declare when you give it to God and say, God, listen, I need some help with this thing. I need you to come on in and lead me, guide me, direct. I messed up too long. And see, God is one of the only ones you can talk to like that, and you don't have to worry about being ashamed. You don't have to worry about being vulnerable or him taking advantage of you. You can go to God and say, God, I messed up. Or you can say, God, I done messed this thing totally up. God won't do like some of us. Well, I knew it. I knew you would. I saw you when you was messing up. I figured that, you know. Yeah, your child did bad too. Whew. No. God ain't like that. God ain't concerned about all of that. All God want to know is, are you calling me from a sincere heart now? I ain't talking about all this church stuff because that's what we do and all it sound good and all that falling out and all this stuff here. You know, when I'm praying for folk, I ain't trying to make nobody fall out. I don't get no pleasure, no joy when nobody fall out, none of that. I want to know that anything happened. That anything changed. Falling out on me, now, people, pushing and all that. No. That's all well and good. I'm more interested in something happening. It's something taking place. But when you give it to God, something will take place. Something happens when you give it to God. It said, and they cried unto God because of the Midianites. Because of their trouble, because of their circumstance, they cried unto God. And that's what I would submit to some of us here today. We've got to cry unto God. We've got to take our circumstance and situation to God. Judges the 14th verse, 15th verse of that chapter says, and the Lord looked upon him and said, go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianite. He said, have not I sent thee? He told him, he said, I hear you cry now. I see your situation now. And he tells him, I want you to go in strength now. I'm giving you the strength to go. I'm giving you the tools to go. I'm giving you what you need to go. So he told Gideon to go in your strength. And the strength I'm going to give is enough for you to defeat the hand of the enemy. Hallelujah. And that's what I want you to know. When you give God it, when you put it in God's hand, he give you the strength to do what you need to do. Somebody say yes. And the next thing, when Gideon got confirmation that God was on his side, the Bible said that Gideon built an altar. Yes! When he understood that God was calling him, when he understood that God was sanctioning him, when he understood that God was anointing him, the first thing that Gideon did, he built an altar. Yes! Christians, everyone around you is not ready for war. Yeah! Yes! Yeah! There's some folk around you scared of the enemy. Some folk around you nervous. Some folk around you don't want to be uncomfortable, don't want to be inconvenienced. But God is saying to us, if you're not ready to fight, go on back home. If you're not ready to roll up your sleeve, go on back home. If you're not ready to give your energy, give your time, go on back home. If you're not ready to go back home. But God is looking today for somebody that's willing to fight. I might get bruised, but I'm gonna fight. I might be wounded, but I'm gonna fight. I might be lonely, but yes, I'm gonna fight. I may lose some of my friends, but I'm gonna fight. Yeah, after God released 22,000, Gideon was ready to let's go. But God said, wait, you still got too many. You got too many folk. Yeah, you'll never get it done with that many folk. You'll never accomplish it with that many folk, because you got one on that side wanna do it this way. You got one on this side wanna do it that way. You got 20 in the back wanna do it that way. God said you still got too many. This is what I want you to do. Go down, go down, go down to the river, go down to the water, and watch the men as they drink the water. Watch the men, and all of those, they get down on their knees like a dog. Send them home. All of those that's taking a break, all of those that's relaxing, all of those that are at ease, tell them to go back home. This ain't the time to take a break. This ain't the time to take a nap. This ain't the time to go on vacation. But now, you know how a dog does when he's drinking water. His whole head is in the bowl. He don't know what's going on around him. He don't know what the enemy is doing. His head is in the bowl. Yeah, yes. God said, send them back home. Yes, yes. But those men that stand, take the water, story. Yes! But I tell you what Gideon told him. He said, get ready. Get your victuals. What was your victuals? Those were your food items. Your water. I don't know, they may have had a little wine. Not that kind of wine. But they had it with them. And he said, get a trumpet in one hand. And get a pitcher with a candle in the other hand. And Gideon told him, wait until I tell you, and we gonna blow the trumpet. Wait until I tell you, and we gonna speak the same thing. Yeah. The Bible said that when Gideon told them to blow, they blew the trumpets. They took the pictures that the candles was in, broke the pictures so the light could shine out bright. Yes! And they went on in the name of God. Say yes here. Everybody standing. Hallelujah. 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 Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. When they blew the trumpet, the enemy heard the trumpet. The enemy saw the light shine. And when they heard the trumpet, saw the light, they got nervous, began to kill each other. Those that didn't die, they ran. And the Bible said that the children of Israel pursued them. They were faint, but they pursued them. They were tired, but they pursued them. Yeah! Listen, there may be somebody here today.